And we are live. So, damn, I get to see your face twice. And what's going on, baby? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Best as I can. Best as I can. Like I said, everyone know I've been saying this year has not gone great for me personally. Professionally, been great,
Yeah,
but personally, not been sucky, what have you. But
yeah, that's no good.
like the old gospel says, this too shall pass. What about you, Miss Lady?
I'm doing good. I actually had a cold and I wasn't able to record for like the last week and a half. So
Uh,
I'm still a little bit hoarse, but it's better now. So maybe I can record tomorrow. I did record today actually because I had to get my podcast out.
mm,
But I haven't done any more audiobooks because I don't want to do it because I can't like make all my range of sound, right? Like with the cold. And then I'm a little hoarse and then sometimes I lose my voice and so it's not it's not good recording.
well, shoot. Well, I know how that is because, like, lucky for me, I haven't had no cold to make me lose my voice or
Mm,
anything. But trust me, I had to fight through some sickness, depression, a whole bunch of shit. Because people don't realize the things that we have to fight through to give these people shows. We might not be at our best that day or feeling great that day or whatever. How do you push through?
mm-hmm. Yes.
No, so how do you push through?
I just keep going. I guess I'm just, I got to do what I got to do and I'm very I don't know, I guess I'm very driven and very tenacious and I don't give up easily, especially if something's trying to stop me. I tend
Mm.
to coming back even harder at it. So in that way, it's kind of flames me up if something's trying to stop me.
Yeah, because um, shit, because I even go for it been a couple of these days. I don't know if the fans noticed, but like yesterday, it was rough for me because I had so much, going on mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, and it was hard. And then on top of that, fighting this app and the internet.
Mm,
I be hating when like I be having a lag behind.
mm,
So I be talking, and then she hear me like a couple seconds later, and be throwing me off, throwing her off.
yeah.
So I be trying my best to fight negative energy, but man, it's fucking hard, yo.
Yeah. It can sometimes be quite a struggle. There's no doubt about it.
Especially now after this election and shit, because all I'm hearing is fucking negative on fucking TV every 2 goddamn minutes. So
I know. Like I don't hear anything positive. And part of the problem is people are saying some of the shit's made up, like it's fake, right? Like how are we supposed to know what's fake and what's not? But it's all
see,
bad.
see, I think this era is a gift and a curse. It's
Hmm.
a gift because it gave a lot of people a voice, but it's a curse because it gave a lot of people a voice.
Right.
And and the sad part, people don't look at actual news anymore.
No. No, I don't even know if I would trust it at this point. I don't think I would.
Because shit, 'cause I don't even know where you would get reliable news source from.
No, I don't even feel like it's reliable. Like lately, I've been hearing some things where networks will squash stories and stuff. It's like that's not even. It's probably never been legit, right?
Mm-hmm. I just it okay, it's funny to me. It's like when you hear someone say, "Where you get your news from?" TikTok. I'm just like, man, I just miss the old days where you got your news on the evening news. They
Yeah.
didn't tell you what to think or how to feel. They just told you the goddamn news.
Right. Right.
Periods and stuff. So, but if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have podcasting. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have jobs.
I not to ever listen to the news anymore. I just no. I don't even
I
do it.
know. Once he got elected, I said I'm done with the news. I was like, because I already know what it's going to be, and damn if I wasn't correct on so many levels.
Oh yeah, and it's all negative. I never hear a damn positive thing ever.
But this is what the Americans elected. So,
Yeah.
so with that being said, let's get this out of the way, people. Hello, welcome to the Smokers Lounge. You know who I am, Kavanaugh Southern Champ, aka the Porn Rap Star. Find all my links with one link, allmylinks.com/porn rap star. four sponsors to tell you about. I'm gonna go through them quickly. That sponsors us, and we love them to death. EroticMagazine.com, BlushErotica.com, the Kinky Candle Company. Yesterday, I could not say the Kinky Candle Company saved my fucking life yesterday. That's how fucked up in the head I was. The Kinky Candle Company and the Queen of Law, Mitchell Ferrari. Also, check me out on FullSwapRadios.com, as well as the SGPRadio.com, as well as SkyhawkAfterdarkTV.com. So, people, y'all done heard her. She's been on this show twice. Actually, this is the second time we got to show her face, no, four times actually.
Yeah, I used to know.
First time was audio, then she just showed cleavage.
Yeah.
This is the second time we got to see her beautiful face. So, with that being said, I'm here to introduce this wonderful, high-ranking podcaster, audio erotic author, and all-around sexy, big, booby, beautiful blonde, none other than the one and only, the host of Oh Fuck Yeah podcast. And her name is Ruan Willow. Say hello.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is my therapy, and I'm damn sure I need it because today I'm having Jesus Christ. Yeah, because oh man, but I had the pleasure of going to a pro wrestling event. The first one, it was independent. I had a ball. I hope y'all saw the pictures when I had posted them or what have you, and everything. And it felt good to be outside finally. You know, which is funny because I thought about becoming pro wrestler when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's some of the things that you thought about doing when you was younger before you did this erotic poetry shit?
Oh man, I've done so many different things. I actually, even as a very young child, I wanted to write.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids, I had a notebook and I would literally write down stories in my notebook. Like I would longhand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went through a lot of phases. At one point, I wanted to be a pastor. And then I wanted to act. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to direct films. I wanted to be a biologist, which actually I did get a biology degree and I did work as a scientist for a while. I wanted to be a vet also, but it's very difficult to be a vet. It's really hard. It's actually harder to get into veterinary school than it is medical school because
Wow.
they so few people. Like when
Yeah.
I was to apply twice to veterinary school and they only take 40 people per year. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
medical takes way more than that. So it's actually harder to get into veterinary school than it is medical school, which
When you think about the procedure they got to do on these animals, they're smaller. Everything is smaller.
is right. Yeah. I've always loved animals and pets and stuff. So those were most of the things I wanted to be, I guess. I ended up getting a nursing degree as well. So I actually have a nursing degree as well. So didn't do the veterinary thing, but I did work as a nurse for a while.
My family, my mom and them always say I'm going to be a preacher, which I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the wrong one to be preached to the choir. I don't believe half the shit that they preach about half the time.
Right.
But of course, I always wanted to be in music. I ended up getting in music, being a rapper for a while. I still do music from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wanted to write comic books. I wasn't the greatest drawer, but I can write a comic book story.
Sure. Yeah.
And I used to do poetry also. So
Oh yeah. I did poetry. I liked poetry. I still do.
mm, yeah. What was your favorite? Where is your favorite poem?
My favorite porn.
But no, poem. Damn it! I told you I'm having a rough day. Poem. I can't even say it right.
I don't
Poem.
know if I have one. I don't have them memorized very well. I don't like them if they're too much of a puzzle. I like them more straightforward personally.
Yeah.
Like I like to, I don't like sitting there thinking, what does that mean? I like it to be in my face and this is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because for me, my favorite poem is "The Road Not Taken" by Robert Frost.
Oh yes. Yes.
I always loved that poem and stuff. And then my favorite poet was Langston Hughes.
Oh yes, definitely.
Because that some of that shit was funky what he used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize there's powers in words.
Yes.
And with erotic poetry and erotic fiction, it's a different type power. It's more of a sexual, more what we call it. So speak to the smokers about the power of words when it comes to eroticism.
Oh, it's definitely very powerful. I mean, you can convey images, what's happening, what someone's feeling. It's just amazing to me how you can change the slant of something just even by changing a few words. You can give a completely different picture just by even changing a few words. And people really react to words. So, for instance, some people can't handle, really spicy words. They see one word that's offensive to them and they're out of there. Like they're just out. They're gone. And other people can tolerate anything. And so words have a lot of power that, and we can see it too, like in music, obviously songs and lyrics, there's tons
Mm-hmm.
of power, in social media, in books, in audiobooks. It's amazing to me how, for instance, two authors could write about the exact same scenario and what comes out will be completely different stories. That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Yeah, because it's to the point that it's funny that is it safe to say erotic fiction authors are sex workers?
Well, it depends on how you think of it. Like some people think they are, some people think they aren't. And I think it's really interesting how everybody has a different opinion about that. And some people say it can't really be called sex work because it's too different from in person. There's no actual bodies.
Now, I mean, yeah, the definition like 10, 15 years ago, but you got females right now that doing feet fetish and they consider themselves sex workers. And there's nothing sexual about it, just showing feet. So
Right.
to me, if you talk about sex, if you depict sexual acts or anything that involves a sexual arousement, that should to me that should classify you as a sex worker.
Mm. Yeah,
You know?
I think of it as I'm a writer and I write about love, sex, and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's too different what I do compared to what someone does who physically goes and bees with someone. Um, there's no touching, there's just emotions, there's just thought, there's feelings, there's often a storyline. And to me, it's just a different form of fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't think of it as sex work because I can't really compare myself to someone who's putting themselves out there like that. They're much more at risk. They're much more. They're in person to me is different than when there's a distance.
But the thing of it is, which you brought up on other episodes, you face the same scrutiny that
Yes.
of a porn star. So to me, I'm just saying, you feel what I'm saying? Yes, people, there is a bias against erotic poems and stories
Mhm.
within the book community.
There's a bias, but there's also a bias against sex ed. Even
Yeah.
schools, there's a bias against that. You can't. They won't talk about certain things. They won't allow certain things. They won't use certain words. They won't talk about pleasure most of the time. They won't talk about consent most of the time. So it depends on how you're going to apply it because there's bias there too.
Mm. Yeah, because um to me, because see, just like for example, and as he's part of my head, this would be a good conversation. Porn used to be like erotic poetry by the way that they did it.
Like more story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's not.
hmm
And a lot of people say the porn is boring.
hmm
Why do you think porn got away from the eroticism of it?
That's a really good question. Like I still feel like some places still do the storyline, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know why it switched. Maybe it is the massive use of the internet and people wanted something quicker. They started to want things faster, packaged in smaller bites. Give me the pow rather than the long storyline. I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can think of is the impatience has grown. The people want that pow instead of sitting around waiting for this whole full story to down, to go through before they get to the sex.
Yeah, because to me, when you think about the eroticism, but not only is just the storytelling, eroticism, y'all talk about sensual sex a lot. The sensualness, the kissing, the touching, and stuff like that. That is kind of left point in many ways with the what we call it. And to me, that when I felt porn was at its best, when it had that eroticism, like feel to it. So you, is it because this is audio, because this is books, that eroticism didn't lose the books didn't lose the eroticism, but music has and porn has. So why have the books not switched? Oh, what's WAP and my pussy pink, my asshole brown type shit.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And maybe it's because I don't know why it is. I think it's really odd. But still when you're reading a book or listening to an audiobook, a story, it's so much more in your head. The brain can't really tell if what you're that's what people say. The brain can't really tell whether you're doing something or you're reading about it. Like your brain processes it the same way. So that's why we get so emotionally invested and immersed in erotica and stories, because our brain is really going there with these characters. And when I don't know why the others would switch that way. The only thing I can think of is that people have gotten more impatient, and they, if they don't want to sit there and read an entire book or listen to or watch a porn video that has a full story, they want it to be, give me the action. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
But see, what's interesting is that phone sex is still a thing.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, there is a market for eroticism magazine. Eroticism, you know what I'm saying, books and poetry. And it never went away. So what is it about that they had its staying power versus the other genres?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is it's a bit more immersive, because if you're sitting there reading something or listening to it, erotica or erotic romance, you're more immersed in it, versus if you're watching a porn video, it's all given to you. You're not using your brain to imagine these characters. You're not imagining this scenario. So it's less interactive. People have been creating for probably several thousand years. I mean, you even think back to the cave drawings. There were cave drawings of people having sex, right? That's so this is not something new. Some people always, I think it's funny when people think it's something new. I'm like, it's not new. It's been around forever.
Yeah. And see, the thing about it is that just like, well, I'm gonna be real with you. The eroticism when it comes to books is old as the oldest profession, prostitution. Now because we're in the new age, and of course you got your podcast, and you're one of many people that actually do erotic readings and stuff. How has podcasting advanced that genre?
Well, I think it has, because it's actually one place that you can do it, and it's not really censored. Like, for instance, on like the bookseller platforms, they really censor things. You can't use certain words. You can't search by certain words. But the only times I've really ever seen any censoring on my podcast is if I accidentally put the word fuck in my title, then they might put a little star there, take the U away when my podcast title. I have seen that happen. And I've only, there isn't as much censorship. And the really great thing about podcasting is that there are so many apps, right? Like if one app decided to not carry your show, look how many more there are,
Because for example, like I was telling people about Good Pod. As soon as Google Podcast went away, Good Pod took its place.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, damn it. I looked up. I was like, shit, right? Everybody that came over here.
And then also the internet radio, like Full Swap Radio, you know,
Mhm.
that isn't censored. Although recently, I know they had issues with the app disappearing for a little while, and then it came back. But I don't know what happened with that. But it's back now. But so yeah, they can put things on the internet and be an internet radio station and not have this censorship that is on the bookseller platforms.
Yeah, because see, the thing about it with because it was interesting because I was like, you have audiobooks, yeah. But to me, I think the podcast helps the genre more because not only are you able to tell a story, also they're getting something weekly, something new, and
Yeah.
even conversation with it. You
Yes.
know, you or what have you.
Mhm.
And for you, what made you decide to go the podcast route with your racism?
Well, I originally just started out writing, and I was just writing books, and about the same time I started doing audiobooks, and the podcast actually kind of came about at the same time for me back in 2021. And it all came about because somebody actually instigated it for me because he wanted me to narrate a book for him. He heard
Mm,
my voice on Twitter and said, "Have you ever made an audiobook?" And I'm like, "Nope." He said, "I have a mentor who can help you." And he literally taught me how to do it. I'm basically self taught. I had the mentor, I watched YouTube. And so
mm,
the only reason I really did it, to be honest, is because people kept asking me to make a podcast.
mm,
To make a podcast. And at the time, I was like, I have a website, I'm writing. How in the world can I do a podcast too?
mm. Now, the interesting part about this, because you said audio book. All right. Now, we understand when it comes to books, you got to get a publisher, or you publish it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get in stores. How does it work with the audio book? Because, like, of course, with music, I have to go to track.com, cdbaby.com, get distribution through them, or what have you. So, how does it work for audiobooks?
Yeah, there's several ways out there. There's something called ACX, which you can publish your own book through. You can also publish audition for other authors, narrate for them. And
Mm,
you put it on ACX, it goes to Audible, Apple,
mm,
and let's see, Audible, Apple, and iTunes. And so let's cover those. And then there's also something called Findaway Voices,
mm,
where when you put your audiobooks on there, it blasts it out to like 34 different audiobook carriers. And now I get censored off of some of them because I have
mm.
erotica. So I
Yeah.
have about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 that will accept me,
Mm,
my books. And then also there's another one called Authors Republic. Now it has a few more that it
mm.
puts out too. So I have kind of played around with, using all three of them to see how I can get my books in the most places. So that's basically how.
Because, yeah, because it's interesting that they'll censor you, but a book can have complete killing and murdering in the motherfucker, and they won't censor that.
Yes, yes. This is so crazy. I was at a book fair this weekend, and there was an old man that came up, and he was talking to the woman next to me, and she has contemporary romance, and hers is open door as well, so they have their sex on the page. And he looks at her and he goes, "I just don't understand how these women write romance, and what do their husbands think of this?" And she looks at him and she said, "That's really interesting." This is her line she usually gives to such people. "It's really interesting how our culture elevates stories about murder and depresses stories about love." And he just stared at her dumbfounded, like he didn't know what the fuck to say. Like, what do you say to that?
Yeah, because you want to know why? And I've been said this. America, because we're a Christian state, they push not healthy sex in a marriage,
Yep.
not healthy sex in general,
Yep.
sexual suppression.
Yes.
And I've been said this. The most scariest thing on this earth is a woman who is sexually free.
Right.
They're scared of that.
Yes.
Because, and people gotta understand sexually free is knowing yourself sexually,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally sure about being with your sex life.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah, you can call it being a slut, what have you. If she's single and she want to mingle, hey, she's a grown ass woman. and even to with the abortions and shit.
Yes.
So it's like, even when I think about like some of the girls in the Bible, like Jezebel, she used sex to get what she needed. You know what I'm saying? And it made her a villain.
Yes.
And just like recently with Joy Taylor, because she was fucking the boss.
Mhm.
And it's like, but if a man does it, we give him a pound. When a woman do it, she get chastised. So for you, how sexually free is it for you to do these stories
Oh,
and write these books?
there's two things I want to say. First, I'll say it before I forget it. there's my cold sound. I just interviewed a woman who used to be a pastor and now
Mm-hmm.
writes erotica. And she's writing a story. She's writing a positive story of Jezebel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fantastic. So I wanted to mention that because I think that's really cool. And I love her perspective on, she actually used to be a pastor and now she's an erotic author writing about sex. And so it was really great, fascinating conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you know, for me, it's really, really freeing to act all these things, even things that I probably would never do. Like I did a really super offensive book recently that I narrated, and it was just really fun to act it out. I love to act out these extreme characters, any of the characters. I just love to act them out, even if it's something I may never actually do or even desire to do, or maybe I fantasize about in my head and don't want to do in real life. But I get to act out these characters, and it's just for me, it's very freeing. It's very wonderful. It's very liberating, empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
No, it's all good. Yeah, because it to me, like I said before, it plays into the imagination.
Yes.
You know, and to me, it's more impactful. It's more impactful to me than it is video,
Right.
because when you have to literally use your mind eye to see things,
Hmm.
it's different. You
Yep.
know,
Very
and
true.
you also something that you also said, these erotic stories, even though they might be sex, is love.
Hmm.
And what happened to the love
Right.
in our shit?
Right.
The porn, I'm talking about just in music. There's just no love anymore.
Right. And not even just love. Like you barely even seems like you even see like liking each other. Like,
Right.
that's even lacking.
Yeah, because to me, it's like it may. I didn't grow up in the man versus woman era.
Mm,
Okay, you know, like I said, in certain conversations, I think I never ever had. I never asked a girl about her body count. Why
hmm.
did I care?
Right.
That's the main question. And it, to you, because like I said, you do a podcast, you talk to people different from different walks of life, plus the erotic poetry. Why do you think it's such a divide between men and women now?
I've been actually thinking about this a lot, and I think I heard something really nasty, and I don't know if this is true. That there's some sort of group in over in Europe that pretended they did this experiment. They pretended to be a man and made a new account on Facebook. And very quickly, he started to receive a lot of hating women posts. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have a fear that our social media is curating a greater hate between the sexes.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is what's happening, this is really bad because if we're hating each other, it's actually they're controlling both sexes. Whoever is
Yeah.
orchestration and trying to get us to hate each other, they're controlling all of us.
Yeah, because it like this to me. I think people think the majority feels the way that the red pill and social media.
Right.
When that's the case,
Right.
period. Um, and to me, I think in this era, the minority is the majority because the minority is the one that's always speaking.
Right.
You know,
Right.
why do we worship the words of these people so much?
Right.
Because we didn't do that back in the day. We half of this shit. We think about when we used to watch what was it, Phil Donahue and some of these talk shows.
Yeah.
It was entertainment.
Right.
We didn't believe half the shit these motherfuckers say now. These motherfuckers use their words like it's gospel. So why has that changed?
Right. And if you think about it, like, and this is me too, like there's some social media, especially Twitter, I can't even look at for very long anymore because it's so triggering, everything. And I just get angry. And I'm like, this is making me an angry person. And I don't want to be, I don't hate men, but there's like these posts coming at me saying, oh, men this, men that, men, I think it's actually changing our culture, which is very, very scary.
I'm gonna tell you where I find funny, right? This is girl named Love Jones. I love her to death. Now she's dating another YouTuber, but every video is trashing a man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let a man make you feel less than. I'm like, how is it that you got a boyfriend and you trashing men? I don't.
Okay, yes, some men are going to be like that, but if you're spewing this to all men, that's not even accurate. It's not good. It's not good.
People need to read more erotic poetry. And
More love, more focus on love and sex instead of hate. It's just like these things are just like brewing hate all over the place.
So now, because we in the sexual genre of podcasting, the one thing is it's hard. These other podcasts are able to move in a certain way where they can get sponsors and shit like this. For us, it's a little different.
Yes.
Because even though our shit is audio, it's still sex based. So it makes it, because people finally, which is funny, people still think they can make a shitload of money on porn. But at one point, people thought they make a shitload of money on podcasting. So for you, when it comes to sponsorship and stuff like that, how has it been for you?
It's been good when I've chased after it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did have a really good sponsor for a while, and then they cut back, and I was one of the ones that got cut.
Mm-hmm.
I just decided, I'm just going to make content. I'm going to focus on selling content instead of pursuing all of these sponsorships, because again, yeah, none of them don't want sex-based content. And I thought, why am I spending all of my time chasing these? Once I make content, it's there, and I can sell it the rest of my life. But if I'm spending all my time emailing sponsors and trying to convince them to come with me, I'm losing all my time.
Yeah. Because see, it's interesting, like when I look at the bigger podcast, that's why they got Patreon. Because it's funny. I keep telling everybody the world revolves around music and porn. Because they see the power of having subscribers.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And that's where really the money is, because the advertisers, let's just keep it 100. It's so many of us, it's kind of hard to get high numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Period. People don't even realize that, because, even when I look at my numbers, you know what I'm saying? It's, trust me, these sponsors want you to have some outrageous fucking numbers out this bitch. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about whether you got an organic fan base.
Right.
They just want numbers.
No, right. They don't care about involvedness. They want to know numbers, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to get involvement.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, and it's just, I don't know. What really made me angry with mine is they didn't communicate with me, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, "Okay, we're cutting you," and then he gave me the reasons afterwards, and it was things like that I could have changed if they would have just communicated with me, but they didn't. Bendable, and they're like, "Okay, no, we're moving on. We're cutting back." And
then also, there ain't many products that we can push. Is either going to be toys or Blue Chew.
Right. I mean, yeah, toys. Yeah, I've done toys too, and I do put some on, like, affiliate. I'm an affiliate with a few sex toys, so I'll bring those up and put them in the links and talk about it, or put them in the show notes and talk about them, especially my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Almost definitely. Oh my God. So people, look, I had to cut this because my stomach feeling like, you know what I'm saying? And we gave y'all some good shit. So Y'all know what it is. Y'all need to go to the Premium Smoke Room and subscribe. 5 premium podcasts for you to enjoy. You know it, and special events and live events that I'll be dropping on YouTube. So be in touch for that. Also check out my subscription side on Spotify as well. You feel me? So with that being said, Miss Lady, can you tell everybody where they can find you and read your stuff and listen to you?
Yes, of course. My podcast, as you said, is Oh Fuck Yeah with Ruan Willow, and it's on all the podcast apps. On YouTube, I'm Ruan Willow Podcaster. I'm on the Full Swap Radio and Pod Nation Media TV, which is a TV station, a channel on Roku TV and Fire TV devices. And you can find my books and audiobooks on all the different booksellers. So I'm like on the majority of the really big ones and small ones. So yeah, just search me. You'll probably find me.
No doubt. And people, she will be back on here. You feel
Yeah.
me? So, what did
Thank
y'all smoke over? What did y'all learn? I'm gonna make this quick and simple. Podcasting and porn is similar. It's what you do is how you make the money. Podcasting, audio, the eroticism, and all that, we all go through the same type of bullshit. Because whether you actually fucking on camera or you talking about it, there's a stigmatism attached to it. And we have to fight through it. Plus, podcasting is the new medium for not only for porn, not only for erotic authors and so forth, politics and all that stuff. And trust me, it's not easy because porn has a little bit more of an instant gratification. What we do is built over time, and you got to put in a lot of work. 3 times, trust me, I work 3 times more harder than I did in porn. And that's for real. You feel me? So with that being said, you know how we end these things all day, every day. Life is a learning experience. What's the point of the experience if you haven't learned anything? Smoke this over. Miss Willow, say goodbye to the smokers.
Goodbye, and thanks for having me. I was so happy to be here again. Super fun to chat.
All righty.